Okay, we're going to go ahead and look at the Json. This is something I already did in class, but we were having some trouble getting it to work, so I'm going to go over it again, and you'll have the video and you'll be able to refer to it. We're going to take a earlier application we did for an assignment, our quoter, and mark it up to use an external Json file. And so what I project is we're going to do a series of activities with this. And the first thing we'll do is create the JSON file and hook up the app to use it as is with the external JSON file. Okay, so I found my directory where I had my earlier quoter, which I had converted to Jquery, and I made a copy of it. So now I don't have to worry about screwing up the working code. And essentially, I forked the code, is what we would say. So I've got a working directory, got my JavaScript code, my main CSS, and my index.html. Here is the quote data that I want to change. So I'm going to start by copying that, and then I'm going to create a new file in the project. And they don't seem to have a JSON file type here, so I'm going to go to the other and get text, and I'll just create a text file, and then I'll go ahead and paste in the data here. Okay, let's go ahead and save this right away. The file should have a JSON extension, lowercase, so we'll say save as, and here you can see the files. You can see I have both of the Jquery files in here. I'm using the 2.1 library though here. So this will be called JSON, and we'll make it quotes, all lowercase. Okay, so then we'll go ahead and save that. Now, one thing we kind of figured out is that Dreamweaver does not understand JSON, and so it won't be able to tell me. So I'll have to use an external program to check my JSON code. So I'm going to start by going ahead and editing what I have here. And I'm going to get rid of this var and go ahead and put in a open squirrely brace, and then I'll come down here, and I think I'm going to not need that semicolon there, and so I'll put in a closing squirrely brace there too. And then just to save some space here, I'm going to kind of move these over and reformat them a little bit. And you'll see in a second that because I have to do a lot of repetitive editing, I'm going to use the find and replace. And that's one of the reasons that I went ahead and immediately copied all this data to a separate file. If I screw it up, I haven't ruined it. I can still go back to the other file. Okay, so the first thing I notice is to get this into the JSON format, these things all have to be quoted. And apparently they have to use double quotes. And also, instead of the equal sign here, I have a colon. Okay? So you can see already Dreamweaver doesn't like this. So now basically I'm going to have to put double quotes around the Q text and the A text. And also, because I want them to be all on the same page, I have to change those. Because since we're all working together to create a massive set of quotes, they all have to be the same markup. So basically, I'm going to go ahead and select this Q text and hit Control C to copy it, then Control F to pull up the find and replace. And so what I want to do is I want to replace this with text, but it also has to be double quoted. So I'll just go ahead and put that in. Now, since there's really no chance of me messing anything up here, I'll just do replace all. So I'll click replace all. Dreamweaver shows me all the replacements. I know I have the 5 quotes, so I'd expect 5, and I got them. So it looks like we're fine. So now we're going to do the same thing here with the author text, and we'll make that author. So again, Control F, quote, author, all lowercase, replace all. Okay. Looks like we're pretty good here. And so now Dreamweaver doesn't like this, but I think it's actually okay. So I'm going to save this, Control S. I'll go ahead and get rid of this tab group here. And I'm kind of wondering if it'll let me validate it. If it'll use the external validator, we'll see. Let's see. No, that's all grayed out, so it doesn't look like it's going to do that. Alright, so I'll have to use the third-party validator. So let me go ahead and minimize this. Go over to Chrome. And go ahead and create a new tab real quickly. Json validator. There we go. And Json lint, that's the one I used before. It was just the first one that came up. So I'm going to paste my JSON code in here to validate it. So let's go ahead and grab the code. Control C or use the mouse to copy. Go back to the page. Paste it in. Click validate. And we're valid. Okay, it's really important that we do that before we try to get it to work. If it's not valid, it's definitely not going to work. Okay? Alright, I'm going to leave this open because I am going to do more with the JSON here eventually. But before I do a lot more, I want to go ahead and get my application working with the JSON file. So let me go back to Dreamweaver here. And now we'll go to our JSS. Okay, so here's the JSON quotes. I can go ahead and delete that because now I have the quotes in the external file. And now I want to basically use this Dreamweaver, or excuse me, this Jquery method to read the JSON in. That's going to be $ dot. Should be get. There it is. Get JSON. It's always nice when the IntelliSense confirms that. And the URL will just be the file name here. So that's going to be quotes.json. And then the second parameter here is optional. What that is send something to the server. I don't need that. But what I do need is I need to put a function in here. And this function will have a parameter called data. And then here's the function body. We'll come on down here, close the function, close the method call there for the getJSON, and put a semicolon in there. Okay, so basically what's going to happen is that Jquery will go ahead and set data to be our quotes from the JSON file. Let's take a quick look at that again. So basically this quotes is an array. You can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quotes, and that'll be data.quotes. Now one thing I have to warn you about here is data is not a variable. That's a parameter. This is actually a function definition. So while I can refer to data here inside this method, I can't refer to it outside of the method. It's called out of scope. And there's no way to do that. So what I want to do here is create a quotes array, and then here in this I'll go ahead and fill up the quotes array from the data object, which we'll call a parameter because that's really what it is. Okay. Now before I do that, let's take a quick look down here. You can see that I still have the old references here to qtext and atext, and I changed those now, and they're going to be text and author. So I have to fix that, and that's because mine use different names. So again, because we're going to combine all of our data together, we wanted to use those the same way. Now, what's good about this is I shouldn't have to change anything else. So you can see that I'm expecting to have an array of quotes like I did originally. And so now I'm going to go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and make our array of quotes. So var quotes equals square bracket, square bracket. That creates an array. And then down in here, we just have to write the code to go through the data and add it to the quotes array. And I'm going to try and use this function from Jquery that Ben Leach showed me here. So I think this is, there we go, yeah. So basically this is going to go through a collection like a for each loop, and then we'll have a callback. So I'm going to go through the get data collection, and let's see, I might need to use get quotes actually, because that's the actual array. Let's see how that works. Let's see. Oops. And then here's my function. It's kind of interesting. This tends to be sort of like functional programming, where you have a lot of anonymous inline functions here. So again, this function is going to end here, and then we need let's see, and then I think a semicolon. Okay, that looks pretty good. Alright, so for each get quotes function, let me think about this a minute. Oh, I don't know how to refer to this actually. So what I want to do is I want to say quotes dot push. Is that right? Yeah. I'm going to have to stop for a second here and figure this out and come back. So give me a minute. Okay, I'm not sure why I have get there. This is actually data. So this is the name of the parameter. So data.quotes is the array of quotes that got assigned by the Json function. And then basically I just want to go through and add them to the quotes array. So do you understand that this quotes array has the scope within the whole thing? It's basically global to the onStart function. And then data as a parameter, it only has scope within here. So I can't refer to data anywhere else. And so what I need to do is pass the quotes array in, which is global, and grab all the stuff from data. And that's what I'm trying to do here. So hopefully this will work. And then quotes will be ready to go. I found out earlier when I tried to test this that because it's asynchronous, the get new quote will actually get called down here before the JSON thing returns, because that's what asynchronous does. So it'll basically not block. It'll go ahead and start to transfer the data, then it'll run through and it'll run down here, and it won't give me a quote on start because the quote array hasn't been established. So what I want to do is I want to move this now and put it in the JSON code. And so now this will work normally with top-down execution. So it'll go ahead and run that function to load the array, and then it'll call the get quote, and that'll populate a quote at the start of the program, which is what it does now. And it also turns out that I have to go ahead and initialize a new quote here. And I can make that, I think, a -1, and that should work okay. Alright, so you can see what will happen is it'll come down, and what happened earlier is new quote wasn't getting set correctly when I called the method, so I think now it should work alright. Alright, let's go ahead and try this and make sure we got it working before we do anything more. Now I also wanted to mention that thanks to Kevin Ernst, we found on Stack Overflow that this will not run in Chrome. You can get it to run if you change the security settings, but of course you got to remember to change them back, and that's kind of dangerous. So I'm going to actually try to run this in Firefox locally, and then once I get it on the web I can test it in Chrome. But Chrome will not run it locally unless you mess with your security settings, and of course we want to be real careful if we do that. So I'm just going to go ahead and use Firefox. Alright. So there we go. Right off you can see that it's working. So I got everything working fine, and of course it took me an hour yesterday to figure this out, but now we're doing good. Alright, let's go ahead and close this, and I think I'll call that a video. Excuse me, my asthma's kicking in today, and I've got a kind of thick lungs here. And I'll go ahead and continue this in the next video.